We start. Your nonprofit usually stays in one place and it's spinning its wheels, constantly scrambling for money. The issue probably isn't your funding. You've probably heard me say this before, and I'm sticking to it. Like I will tell you, it is not the funding that is the problem. Most of the time, it's the lack of strategy, and a lot of no nonprofit organizations, for some reason, they have no strategy whatsoever, and they're running around this place thinking that they need money to make an impact. No, you need a strategy to make an impact so you can make money. You need revenue generating activities because at the end of the day, a lot of nonprofits, for some reason, they forget that they are businesses with a tax exempt status. They are just functioning like things don't make sense, but it's supposed to. You need to have a strategy. This may sting for a lot of nonprofit leaders that are watching, but I always say this with love and clarity because I've seen it over and over again. Your nonprofit usually has a hard time succeeding with getting funding or staying funded or having financial sustainability. Um, Not because the grant didn't come through, the grant didn't pan out. No, most of them have a hard time because they have no real plan to actually grow in the first place. They keep winging it and they expect long-term sustainability. You can't be winging things like here and there and expect things to work out. It doesn't make sense. All right. So you have to be able to come to the table and have a plan, have a strategy, because when you don't have one, it makes it very difficult for your organization to have clear direction and clear action steps to know what it is they everybody on the team needs to focus on. And a lot of nonprofit leaders, tend to spend so much time reacting to emergencies, chasing opportunities that aren't really aligned with the work they're supposed to be doing just for the sake of making a buck, right? And also they're trying to raise money without a roadmap. Okay, because then what is the purpose of this money you're trying to bring in? What are you trying to do with this money? How are you going to continue generating revenue? Because let's say you're doing this random fundraiser, right? Because then you've seen everybody throw galas. You like throwing a party, so you're gonna throw a party, right? You throw this party and you break even. You break even, you didn't even make a profit for your organization. You didn't fundraise enough. Now, you didn't have a roadmap of how you were gonna fundraise at this fundraising event. And when push comes to shove, like you didn't bring in enough money because your marketing was trash, your storytelling didn't work, like you kind of piecemealed everything where it didn't work for you, right? It didn't do what it was supposed to do. It wasn't giving. So the thing is, throwing more money at a broken system is not going to fix the system. So if you're trying to get a grant to increase your impact, might not work because you already have a hard time doing what you're supposed to do with the little that you have. You never try to fix the systems, right? Now, according to Stanford's Social Innovation Review, only about 37% of nonprofits actually have a written growth strategy. Now, I want to tell you, and like these 37%, I kid you not, these are the ones that are probably doing great with fundraising and financial stability. Because then you might not understand that written growth strategy where you have a plan and an action plan that you're following, that you're able to put in place within your nonprofit organization. It's going to make a big difference. This growth strategy also applies to like for-profit businesses, right? For-profit businesses, if they are actually making profit, they have a growth strategy, right? They have a plan for how they're going to grow their revenue, and a nonprofit should be no different, right? Because there's also a report that showed that 80% of small nonprofits operate with less than 3 months of cash reserves. Like, I know I shared this with you before, but that is a big problem. Why is that a big problem? Just think of how some people live paycheck to paycheck, how stressful that is. Now, if you're running an organization and only has 3 months, let's say funding doesn't come through from this big funder this month. You can only support people for 3 months. So you got 3 months to bring in another 3 months worth. Like, can you imagine how stressful that is? How much work that is, how much that can be like that can be too much. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. That can be way too much for some folks, and you have to get to a place where you're actually building the organization and looking to achieve financial sustainability and growing the impact of your organization. But you cannot do that if you're just spending your time reacting, because being reactive is not the way to actually achieve growth. It's not the way to accomplish what you want to accomplish this year, because we have how many days left in the first quarter of 2025? Like less than 6 days. Less than 6 days. And my question for you is, where are you now? Did you accomplish anything you said you wanted to do? Because I know at the end of every year, everybody's like in their feelings, oh, I'm going to do this in 2025. I'm going to do this in the new year. We're going to do this. Our nonprofit is going to do so much better. We're going to serve so many more people. Did that happen? Okay, that's my question for you. Did that happen? Because if it did not happen, there's a reason it didn't happen. You did not do the work you were supposed to be doing, right? You didn't do the work. And now your organization is in a place where it's not meeting its goals. You are not accomplishing actual growth. And that says a lot. That shows that you're not focused. Okay. So I'm gonna need you to start focusing a little bit better on having a growth strategy. And the other thing I want to talk about is why a lot of nonprofits are doing it backwards, right? And I want you to actually think about that and improve that. Instead of always reacting, I want you to be more proactive with a lot of things. And that's where the strategy comes in. And I want you to keep that in mind. Okay. So definitely keep that in mind and start working on that and make sure that it is something that your nonprofit organization is focusing on, because it matters greatly. Okay. Now, the other thing is what a strategy can actually look like if you've never done one before. And like, this is how I help my clients in the strategy session. So if you have not scheduled a strategy session with me yet, definitely check the link in the comments or my bio and schedule a strategy session today. But what a strategy can actually look like let's say it's not a full-blown out strategic plan, right? I want you to set measurable goals for your nonprofit organization, right? Don't say something vague like grow our funding or get more visibility. Be very specific about what you're trying to accomplish and how you're going to accomplish it and when you should accomplish it. So your goal can look like secure 50 new monthly donors by June 1st, and you're able to track actual progress where as you get donors, you can say, okay, we got 2 donors and it's April 30th. So we need 48 more. So that's the progress you're tracking. So that's why your goals need to be a little bit more specific, and actually you need to make it make sense. Now, the next thing that your strategy can include is where you're identifying the revenue gaps, right? You need to take a hard look at where your money is actually coming from for your nonprofit organization. So if 80% of your budget is dependent on one grant or one donor, you're not stable, you're very vulnerable, and you need to do better. So you need to start looking at ways to build and earn revenue. Um, so earn revenue is very important because that's not tied to anything, right? And they're not asking you to do something specific for that money, right? You can look into corporate sponsorships and donor retention strategies, especially if you already have donors, right? If you don't know how, you can grab the nonprofit funding quick fix and revenue expansion blueprint. That combo is for $55 in the link. For that, I'm going to drop it in the comments shortly, right? Because it's going to give you step by step for identifying gaps and building new income streams. So definitely get a copy of that. Now, the next thing that you can do is also align your team around the strategy that you are putting in place with your leadership team. Because a lot of teams are moving forward in different directions because the leadership hasn't painted a clear picture of where they're actually going, right? If your board, your staff, and your partners are not clear on your vision and goals for the nonprofit organization, or they didn't come together to formulate that, they can't help you grow because they have no idea what that's supposed to look like, right? So there was a past client of mine had passionate volunteers, but no direction, and nobody had like a strategy of where they were going or a vision. Nobody know what the nonprofit was trying to do. Now, once we were able to set a 12-month strategic plan and realign the team, they actually were able to increase their funding and secure more funding in different ways. So grants, sponsorships, and things like that. So oftentimes the actions of the team members can support what you're trying to do to get more funding. So that's why it's important to have a strategic plan in place. So I don't want you sitting here and thinking, I've been doing this without a clear plan. You can change that. Okay, you can definitely change that because, like I said, hope is not a strategy. Good intentions are not systems. So I want you to remember that. Just because you have good intentions does not mean you have systems in place. And passion alone will not help you pay your team, or it will not help you fund your mission. So I strongly encourage you to book a 90-minute strategy session with me today so we can talk a little bit more about what that looks like for your organization, and we can build an actual roadmap, fix your revenue model, and help your organization gain clarity so you can actually start growing in the way that you want to grow. So I'm going to drop the link for the strategy in the comments, and then I'm going to drop the link for the nonprofit funding quick fix and the revenue expansion blueprint in the comments as well, because your community needs to start seeing you lead in a way that is consistent, and oftentimes making sure that you have a strategic plan in place or a strategic direction that your nonprofit organization is following is very important, because it's gonna help. People are gonna see that. People are gonna see that you know what you're talking about. You have a goal that you're striving for. Everybody's message is going to be very consistent, right? So I want you to be very intentional about that at the end of quarter 1. Like quarter 2 comes, I need you to hit the ground running, because listen, it's either you decide to change or nothing happens. At the end of the day, it's your decision because you only control what you can control. And that is something you and your leadership team have control over, is the decision to be more strategic in the way you approach the business model that your nonprofit organization is following. But like I said, I'm only here for a short time today, but if you have any questions about this or need any tips or anything, definitely drop them in the comments and then I'll answer any questions. Or if you have questions about the strategy sessions, click on the link or reach out to me in the DMs. I'll be glad to answer any questions you have. But with that said, I hope everybody has an amazing, I think today's Tuesday. Have an amazing Tuesday. I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow I will do my best to show up. At what time? I don't know what time yet. I will let you know tomorrow. And I hope you have an amazing day. Bye, y'all.